Welcome everyone to the Stressful to Successful podcast with your co-hosts Tiffany Chasen and myself, Jaden D'Amico, and we are here with the one, the only Ted Nulty.
Hello.
Ted, do you remember when we first met?
I do. I was actually on a bodyguard job doing a workplace violence contract out in Carlsbad. And you were working for an electrical subcontractor?
Yeah, plumbing.
Plumbing. Oh, yeah, plumbing. That's right. Yeah. And so we just met in the parking lot, started chatting, and kind of a friendship developed from that.
Yep. I remember you were. I think you were getting your windshield replaced during that time.
Oh, probably. Yeah.
If I remember,
I go through a lot of windshields.
When your big old truck you had. Do you still have that truck?
I do.
That's nice.
I do.
And then I was like, who are you? We kind of just started chit-chatting and talking, and then you were like, oh, this is my name, this is who I am, and you handed me one of your books, actually. Let's see here. It's one right on your right side, or the viewer's left. It's The Locker.
Yes.
And I read the back of that thing, basically when you first gave it to me, and I said, hey, will you sign this for me? And so you put your signature on there, and you said, enjoy the shootouts.
Yeah. So the book is fiction. But a lot of the names in there are actual people that I either served with, either during my time in law enforcement or during my time in the military.
Wow.
A lot of the characters in there are based, their habits, the things that they do are based off of the real life people in my life, which is kind of what made it so realistic. A lot of people were like, how did you get that so real? And I said, it's because that's who they were. So, it was the night I retired. After my career in the Marine Corps, I went into law enforcement. And literally the night I retired, I sat down and I said I could either sit around and kind of mope. I still own a security and bodyguard service, but I was kind of out of the game. No more military, no more playing policeman, no more. So I sat down and I decided to, I had the ideas for both The Locker and Gone Feral bouncing around in my head. And since that's a pretty vacant space, they bounce around a lot. Yeah. And so I sat down and I started writing, and I got about 3 chapters into The Locker. Yeah. And writer's block is a real thing. It just it just went whoosh. It just went, like I said, there's a lot of vacuous space between my ears. So I decided to start writing Gone Feral. I love B horror movies. I love zombie, totally unrealistic, silly, campy horror movies, and I just love them. And
what's your favorite horror movie, if you don't mind me asking?
Gargoyles from back in the 1970s. So it's this cheesy little movie. Almost nobody's seen it, but it scared the bejesus out of me when I was like 4 years old. I mean, it's the first movie where the hand comes up over the end of the bed, the claw, and these things look like devils, and the guy's looking down between his feet. And I was like, wow. I mean, it still gives me goosebumps.
I got the goosebumps.
I don't like those movies.
So, and when I watched it later, it was like, God, this really isn't that scary. I don't know how it terrified me as a kid, But I love horror movies. All of my kids were raised on them. And now my granddaughter sits on my lap, and we watch on my computer. We watch horror. She's 15 months old, and when she sees a monster on TV or whatever, it'll go rah, and she'll just go rah right back at it. And the kid is fearless. So she was born on Halloween. So this past Halloween, when she turned 1 year old, our kids took her to a haunted house with the actors and stuff. And this one actor jumped out, and all the adults jumped and screamed, and Scotty turns and goes rah, and growled right back at him. And so she's gonna be my vampire killer. She's my little, she's my little horror queen. And but anyway, so I wrote Gone Feral, and both of the books were phenomenally successful.
What do you mean by phenomenally successful?
So I published in 2013. 2014, I was Amazon's breakout author of the year, and Amazon publishes 6.5 million titles. So to hit that spot is really, really kind of cool. Awesome. And then I met Tom Clancy at a book signing, and Tom Clancy grabbed a copy of The Locker, and he looked at it, and he was like, this is a great, he goes, what are you putting crack in your books? Why is everybody coming in? And next thing I know, I'm published. I met some great authors along the way, and George Galderisi, who wrote with Tom Clancy, he's passed away, and some other members of the military fiction kind of crew. But the Gone Feral got me. I met with some other horror writers, and all the new up and coming, they call them indie authors, and we kind of wear that badge proudly. But there was just, some great people in the horror industry, and I wound up actually working with a bunch of them on a charity anthology called Bite Size Offerings, which was a great experience. It's a zombie novel for kids. It's a bunch of short stories, and they're all G-rated, aimed just at kids. It was a super great writing experience. So the books allowed me the financial freedom to reinvest a lot of money into my security company, and I was able to expand it from a $3 million company to the $104 million company it is today.
Wow.
So
that's awesome.
And I just walked you through our operations office. And, prior to that, I had been in the military, and I'd been a police officer. My security company, it was kind of a thing that it was like my side gig. When I was active duty in the military, I was a reserve cop. When I was an active duty police officer, I was reserve in the military, and I kind of bounced around between the two of them, depending on deployments and that kind of stuff. And and then I finally sat down when I was all done with both of those. I sat down and I wrote the books, and I've been writing ever since. I'd written a couple of short stories in high school, didn't do that much. College, I had probably one of the greatest English professors that's ever existed in this world.
Who is this man?
So I went to Northern Arizona University.
Nice.
And I had an instructor named Judson McGee. He's still a teacher up there, right? So this is 1983. So 40 years ago, and he was the most phenomenal man you'll ever meet. So the first day we walk into class, it's 8:10 in the morning on a Monday morning, my very first day in college, right? Yeah. And I show up and I'm, all ready to go, and I'm gonna, do it right. And everybody gets in there, and of course everybody trickles in late because they can't find the classroom. We're all freshmen newbies, right? Uh-huh. So he walks in about 10 minutes after 8, and he looks at us and he goes, "Here's the deal." He goes, "You're all new. You all suck at this. So what I'm going to tell you to do is go. I have you Monday." He goes, "Whatever idiot told you to take a class Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 8 o'clock in the morning should be shot." Right? And I'm like, and we're all sitting there kind of just, and he goes, "You don't need to come to class Wednesday. Don't buy any books for this class. Don't do anything that they tell you in the student guide." Yeah. He goes, "Between now and Friday morning, I just want you to write me a story. Just write something, anything, a story." And I didn't know what the deal was, but I'll explain what his process was a little bit later. Yeah. And he said, "Just, make it 3 to 5 pages long, and just tell me a story. Tell me about your life. Tell me about ducks flying away, whatever. Just write a story." I'm like, "Oh, this is bitching," right? Mm-hmm. So boom, I'm gone. And he lets us go, and we're out. So of course, Thursday night at midnight, all of a sudden I'm like, "Oh crap, I have to write a 5-page paper for English," right? So I sit down and I wrote this just stupid little story about jet skiing, right? And I dropped an F-bomb in it. I put, because it was part of the language, that these two guys that, anyways. So I go in the next day, and he goes, "Great, bring me your stuff." We all went up there. We put our papers right on his desk, and he goes, "Go enjoy the weekend." And I'm like, "God, this class is getting better all the time," So I'm like, "Oh, this is cool," So I go out, and my first weekend, I kind of made sure I had, and I am not a very good student. I only got through college because I'm a great test taker. And I can go to a class, listen to the lecture notes, and generally get between 70 to 80% on all the exams.
That's a damn talent.
So and
Yeah.
that's how I made it through college. I did very little homework. I did very little.
Wow.
So the following Monday comes along, and we troop in at 8 o'clock in the morning, right? And we're all kind of looking kind of crazy. And this guy, and he is the classic professor. He had the gray goatee and beard. He had the corduroy jacket with the leather elbow pad. I mean, he looked like every college professor you've ever seen in every movie ever.
Yeah.
And he goes, okay. He goes, and up on the board with some notes, he goes, this is what we're going to, study some Thoreau, and we're going to do this. And, this is for writing. He goes, but this is where we just kind of suss you out for where you're going to be for your minimum college being able to communicate out in the real adult world. And he goes, all of you do this. He goes, except Ted and Cindy. And Cindy was this cute little blonde, blue-eyed girl sitting like two doors. I'd never said a word to her or anything. So he goes, I want to see the two of you out in the hall.
Huh.
And I looked at her, and she looked at me, and we were like, okay. So we stand up, and we go outside. And he stands up, and he gives the class some instructions about writing stuff down. And he comes outside, and he looks at us. And I go, and the first thing I'm thinking is I'm in trouble because I used the F word, right?
Right.
And I go, sir, please, I'm sorry. I can right away. I'm apologizing. I'm ready to get down. I go, please don't expel me from college my first week, And he goes, hey. He goes, no. He goes, listen. He goes, I just want you guys to know that there is nothing that I'm going to teach you in this class that you don't already know. Both of you wrote well-written stories with correct grammar, punctuation. He goes, you guys already know everything I'm going to teach you in here. And I'm looking at him, and I'm looking for a camera, and I'm like, and so then I started getting, I'm like, sir, please don't, I thought he was like teasing me. And I go, please don't kick me out of your class. And he goes, no. He goes, just listen. He goes, here's my deal. He goes, I will give you both an A in this class. All you have to do is at the end of the semester, come in and show me that you have registered for my creative writing class next semester. And I go,
That's
really?
it?
That's all I got to do? And he goes, I'm not going to teach. He goes, you both already, he goes, I'll give you an A. You just have to come in at the end of the semester. I will give you a perfect grade. Just show me that you registered, because I'd really like to have both of you as creative writing students. And that was it. I fell in love. I kissed his feet. I'm like, you got it, And so the next semester, I enroll in his creative writing class, and I'm going to town, and I'm writing away. And, he's telling me, and he goes, your writing is okay. You're a great storyteller, Ted, but you're kind of a crappy writer. So that's what we're going to do, is we're going to work on your writing. And I'm like, perfect. And so freshman, sophomore, and junior year, I took every class the guy could give me. And he kept telling me, Ted, he goes, you're talented. He goes, what are you going to do when you graduate? I said, I'm joining the military, going to jump out of airplanes and blow people up. And he goes, would you consider going into journalism or writing? I'm like, no, Doc, it's not for me. I hate writing. And I go, it's kind of fun every once in a while, but I go, and I really enjoy your class, but I don't think I'm ever going to be a real writer. And he goes, I'm telling you, you have the potential for greatness in you.
That's amazing.
And I was like, yeah, sorry, I'm going to go shoot people. So
yeah. Tell me a little bit about like what happened with you. Like, what did you do in the military? Did you literally actually just jump out of planes and
shoot people? Yes.
What do they call that? A paratrooper?
So that would be. So I went through Army RTC before I joined the Marine Corps.
Okay.
So I was what's known as a FAT-C. I was a forward air traffic controller. I was assigned to Delta Company, 4th Reconnaissance Battalion, which is a reserve unit that augments active duty recon units. So what happened was I was this air. So in the Marine Corps, there's the O3, there's the infantry hardcore grunt ground pounders,
right?
And then there's all the other lesser scum, and below that lesser scum is the air wingers. So I was like the scum of the scum. So I show up, I try to go to BRC, and they're like, why do we have an air winger? So I just got hazed by all these hardcore O3s. Now, in my defense, I was doing a 300 PFT. I was expert rifleman, expert pistol. I've been shooting competitions since I was little. So it wasn't too hard for me. Yeah. And my father made sure that I got hazed through boot camp.
Just making sure.
Yeah. So
Just fuck with my son.
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. We could talk about my Marine Corps boot camp experience.
I do. If you don't mind, I'm really down to hear that.
So, anyways, what happened was I wound up going into the military, had a wonderful career. I served with some of the most, you can read about the individuals in the book. So I served with some of the greatest people, both in the reconnaissance community. And after that, I fell out of a helicopter. I broke my feet up, and I was non-deployable anymore. So I went over and wound up after Desert Shield, Desert Storm. I went over and became a military police officer, which is the one step that everybody hates. They call them Blue Falcons, which stands for Buddy Effer.
Okay.
So I wound up going and becoming. But I did get on the SWAT team. So I wound up actually commanding the. I'm a plank holder for the Marine Corps' SRT, HRT, which is Special Response Team, Hostage Rescue Team. So I did get to go. I went to sniper school. I am a school-trained sniper. If you ever come out to my ranch, we'll let you shoot the Barrett and do all that other stuff. Tiffany will make you look bad.
Tiffany has never shot a gun before, and I'm trying to get her to go. So
really?
My whole family's Canadian, so we don't really do that.
You're a Canuck?
Yeah.
And here I was just madly in love with you, and now I found out you're Canadian. No, I'm kidding. I'm just teasing. So
if you can convince her to go,
are you kidding me? My wife will teach you how to shoot. My wife is the most deadly individual on the planet, by the way.
Oh, God.
She scares me. She can bench press any one of us in this room. My wife is truly terrifying. Love her to death, but she is a terrifying individual. Ask any of my kids. They don't fear me as much as they fear my wife. So.
You know, my mother always told me, she said, Jaden, marry a woman who scares the living shit out of you.
Yeah, well, that would be me.
And I never understood it.
Yep. Nope. She's a terror.
Until I met this one.
Oh, well, I'll make her deadly.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. Anyways, so I leave. I go into the military, and then I have this career, and then I start writing. I sit down the night I retire, and I start writing the book. I write The Locker. It comes out. Super great reviews. I mean, if you look on Amazon, you read the reviews, 900 reviews, 5 stars, except for I got 2 really good 1-star reviews. Best reviews I ever got were 1 stars.
Huh.
And I can explain that later. But so anyways, I get published, and finally, and I reach back out, and I find out that Judson McGee is still teaching at NAU, right?
No
So I burn him off an email, and I sign a copy of The Locker, right? And I go, hey, look, I'm finally writing. And I send it to him, and my email comes back, and he goes, you could have done better.
What?
And I'm like, good. You know, so it was... And it was
like shooting an already broken foot.
It was so he was like, you know, and his expectations were pretty high, but it was so funny because he's like, you could have done, and I could. My writing has improved. Yeah. Doc, if you ever we call him Doc McGee. Okay. Doc, if you ever read this, my writing is getting better. I promise. I'm working on my craft. You
hear that, Doc?
Yeah. So, anyways, I'm sending him a copy of this.
Oh, please do.
Interview. Yeah. So, anyways. So that was it. I kind of got the bug, and it's been a life changer ever since.
What inspires you to write these stories? You know, like how does it work? How you know?
Well, The Locker was easy. The source material was straight out of my life. Like I said, during my career, I was involved in a couple of shootouts. If you can't tell from the knife scars all over my body, I've had several incidents where I've been stabbed. Nobody's hit me yet. I've been shot at a couple times.
So you've been stabbed and shot, but you haven't been socked in the jaw.
I haven't been what?
You not physically hit? What do you mean by?
Look at my teeth. My teeth are all knocked crooked.
Okay, well, yeah. I'll take that.
No,
back.
I've been. Oh no. As a matter of fact, I'll show you a picture of my face after I took a baseball bat to it. No, I've been. They've whacked me a couple times. So nobody wins a fight. But for the most part, I come out with less damage than the guy I'm fighting, or the 2 guys, or the 5 guys, or whatever it is. Yeah. So it was, as a matter of fact, it was 5 guys. So my security company does high-risk security. So we go in and we clean out drug dealers, pimps, prostitutes from shopping centers, and that's their source of income, and they don't like that being messed with. So our encounters are very often violent and not quite. They don't always go the way I would like them to go. Let's just say that. So I wind up. This was one of our drug dealers down on Midway Drive. I had a little pocket knife. All these the little stab marks on my arm was a girl with a pocket knife going like this at me, you know.
What the heck?
And then I finally.
How young was this girl?
Oh, she was probably 50,
Oh,
55.
okay.
Yeah, she
Not
just old meth addict.
Mm-hmm.
So, my elbow scar. She jumped out of a dumpster and bit me on the elbow, and I thought that was going to kill me. I'm like, here I am, you know, Iraq, no problem, Afghanistan, no problem, and I'm thinking, you know, I have survived it all, and I think I'm going to die from an infection from some girl in a dumpster biting me on the elbow.
Well, yeah.
So, anyways,
That's terrifying.
yeah. So, so that's so the books really did help me change my life, and they gave me a focus. You know, I was kind of adrift. What was I going to do? Where was I going in my life? And now it's truly a passion. It's not a passion that I put as much time into as I would like, because I have a ton of other stuff going on. I have hobbies. My wife is an addict, so it's tough for us, because addiction is a very controlling thing in your life. And so my wife is addicted to scuba diving, and if we don't go somewhere in the world and blow bubbles, once or twice, once a month or once every 2 months, she'll kill me. And so our life kind of rotates around her desire to blow bubbles and make friends with octopus, which is her spirit animal.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
not a turtle?
I make friends with the fish and the octopus and the sharks. I love all sea life.
Fish are friends, not food.
No, I'll eat it too.
Yes.
Don't care. I won't eat octopus. I don't eat. I love calamari, but
Yeah, me too.
I don't eat octopus. But I'll eat it. I'll pet it and then I'll eat it, just like I'll pet a cow and eat it.
You ever made
There's
one
room
ink
for
before?
all of God's creatures right on my plate next to my mashed potatoes.
Nice, your mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
Have you ever made one ink before? I've never been skydiving. What am I saying? I've never been scuba diving before, or skydiving. Shoot.
Well, we own the dive shop on Maui, so come on.
Is that
over.
where you usually go? Is that your favorite spot to scuba dive?
One of our favorite, but Hawaii has it has a couple of the top 10 best diving places in the world. The cathedrals off of Lanai are epically beautiful. I can show you guys videos. We love Cabo Pumo and the Sea of Cortez, Cabo San Lucas. We're leaving next week to Turks and Caicos to go diving first we're going to Florida. We have to dive.
Have you been to Turks and Caicos?
No, I haven't.
Oh, okay.
So neither have I. But we go to Belize. Wow. I am. If you've ever, you remember Dr. Dolittle, right? The guy who could talk to animals.
Yeah, I love that guy.
So I could show you hours of video. I have my own personal fish in the Sea of Cortez. His name is Splice. The minute I dive down and get to the bottom, he swims out from the wreck and he follows me around. And I can show you hours of video. This fish and I have been friends for 5 years. And he comes out. He's like a little dog. He swims around. He wags his tail and he rubs up against my arm. And most people go, "Wow, what bull?" I have hours of video. So, and then I also have my own shark down there. Her name is Cho-Cho. She's a bull shark. She's about 7.5 feet long, about a man-eater size shark.
Damn.
Bull sharks are huge, but she'll come right up. She'll put her head in my lap, and you can pet her. And the problem is, we call her the Sea of Hotez because she's always pregnant. That shark gets busy. She is
kidding.
Always fat and always pregnant. So it's kind of a joke. No offense, Cho-Cho, but she's just this sweet, docile shark. So Cabo Pumo is a marine preserve, and the sharks, the schools of fish are just massive. So the sharks are all really fed. They don't look at us. They'll go after seals and stuff occasionally, but for the most part, there's enough fish down there to keep them going. So they're very docile, except for the males. When Cho-Cho swims next to divers, sometimes the male bull sharks, which are a little bit smaller, they're like 5-6 feet long, they get a little chesty. They get aggressive trying to guard her, and they'll come up and give you the test bump, which is what they do. They'll bump, like say there's a dead whale or a dead seal, they'll bump it once or twice, and it's a survival mechanism so that they don't get hurt. But they'll come up and get put, and all you do is shove their nose into the sand and
Huh.
they'll go away.
I heard you're supposed to like knock them in the face or something.
No, you don't want to do no violent actions. Just
Yeah.
push their nose down and away,
Oh,
and that's it. So
I like that.
and
That's
keep
better.
your hands in close. Don't ever hold a fish out like this.
You just get your hand.
Because
straight up.
something behind you'll eat it. And
Okay.
when I say eat it, I'm talking your arm, not just the fish. So,
Duly noted. There's a lot of things I've got to like learn before I even.
well, come to Hawaii. We'll teach you how to dive. So,
Alright.
my daughter Abigail is a master scuba diver instructor, and her and Joe are running our dive shop down in Maui. It's the only dive shop that survived the Lahaina fires.
Wow.
So all the rest of them burnt to the ground. The fires came right up to the edges of the shop, jumped over it, burnt one boat to the ground, but we still have the other boat, and we still have our entire dive shop.
Amazing.
Wow.
Yeah. So, anyways, so that's my wife's addiction, and so we travel. Like I said, I leave for Maui tomorrow, and to go down for dive shop business. And I admit I'll do a little diving. As soon as I come back, there's 3 families: Pat and Desiree, and Brian, and Lee Wohler, and we all the 6 of us, the 3 couples, we meet every March. And we go diving somewhere, whether it's Florida. Last year was Belize. We go to Maui. This year it's Turks and Caicos. Next year we're looking at going to Fiji.
Oh my gosh.
Moorea. We're going to dive the trench, the shark alley they call it.
Wow.
So
You get all this on video too. You post it.
oh
somewhere?
yeah. So like I said. So I have so in Belize, my shark's name is Snoot. She's a female nurse shark. She's about 6 feet long. And I'll show, like I said, I'll show you the video. Every time we get in the water, she swims right up next to me, and she follows us for hours. She never leaves my
Are
side.
you sure she's not stalking you?
So we were talking to. So my degree is in biology,
Oh.
but we were talking to a marine biologist. I studied herpetology, snakes and stuff, but I did my internship at SeaWorld when I was at college. So I actually got to come home to San Diego, but I was talking to a marine biologist. And she said, "You smell good." And my wife rolled her eyes and goes, "Yeah, you haven't." When I come off the martial arts mats or something, I do not smell good. And she said, "No, your pheromones. There's some people whose pheromones are very attractive to fish." And I was like, "Really?" And she goes, "Yeah." And so we're actually. So National Geographic is doing a show, hopefully it'll come out next year, about some of us that have relationships with marine animals.
Huh.
And there's a diver in Japan, in Tokyo Harbor, and he's the guy that goes out and he maintains the navigational buoys in the harbor.
Okay.
And so he's a scuba diver. But when he was his first day on the job, 25 years ago, this small little fish, and he's got this scraper and this brush, and he cleans all the barnacles and stuff off of the chains. So he's knocking, this little fish was coming out and it was eating it. So this little fish followed him around.
To eat the barnacles. That
To
he's
eat
knocking
the
off.
stuff that was coming off. And it got to the point where the fish would literally sit on his shoulder. As soon as he hit the water, the fish would sit right by his mask and follow him around all day. So for 25 years, 5 days a week, this fish and this guy, and the fish, if you look at the video, it starts off this little bitty 6 or 8 inch fish.
Yeah.
Now it's like this 4-foot monstrous sheep's head, huge fish, and it still follows him around.
Very well fed.
Yeah, how protected do you feel though? Now you got like a bodyguard with you in the ocean.
Oh, totally.
It's also food, but you know.
Well, so Snoot's like that. Snoot gets, Splice and Snoot are like my bodyguards. Splice will literally swim out, and he's kind of a pain in the ass because he will chase. Like as soon as he sees my GoPro, he doesn't like me filming other fish. He gets between me and the fish. I'll show you a video of an octopus punching Splice in the nose because I was filming the octopus, and Splice came around and tried to push the octopus out of the way, and the octopus punches him in the nose.
What the heck, man?
Yeah, so Splice is super jealous. Whenever he sees my GoPro out, he chases puffer fish, anything that gets between the GoPro and him, he does not like it. Like jealous like a dog, like seriously. So I'll show you some of the videos. They're amazing. So 90% of the videos I have.
We before, during, or after the show, we're gonna see those videos. I'm gonna pass some water to Tiff.
You okay?
Yeah.
You sure you don't want some of my Robex juice?
I'm good.
Would you like a water bottle?
Just for general information, this is a guilt smoothie because when I called Jaden this morning, he goes, "Oh yeah, we're having a banana and a protein smoothie before we come in," and I'm like, "I'm going to McDonald's for some trash food," and then and then I felt guilty. So this is my South Pacific squeeze from Robex.
I feel like that's how I bond with all the guys. I asked what protein powder they use. That's a very funny topic.
Really? Is that a thing?
Yeah, our first call, he was telling me he had a bunch of protein powder under his bed. And
He did?
yeah,
Well,
like
when
6 containers of it, and I'm vegetarian. And he goes, "They're vegan, don't worry about it."
It was
Well, we don't want to be sleeping on top of beef protein, right?
Yeah.
It was actually 15 of these like 5-pound buckets.
How do you fit a 5-pound bucket under your bed? Was he up on stilts?
I think so.
It is actually up on stilts. Yeah. No. So like, I have a buddy. His name is Nick, and he's kind of. I've been on this venture of like weight gaining and stuff. Always been a small cat. When I first met you, I was like, you know,
he was kind of skinny. So he's working on it.
I am trying my bestest, and
Hey.
it's. Hey,
I'm one of those guys with skinny
getting
arms.
ripped, man.
Oh yeah. Well, things have gotten so violent on the streets. I finally got back in the dojo. I
Nice.
started working out again. I've been into martial arts since I was 4 years old. My mom was the United States Marine Corps intramural judo champ for 6 years.
Yeah.
My mom would kung fu the crap out of you, and so I grew up in a dojo, like doing martial arts, doing judo, that kind of stuff. And then I was in a martial arts club in college, so I, and I dated a couple of girls that could literally kung fu me, and so I've been into it since I was a kid. One of my books that I wrote the introduction to is by Ronnie Molina, great author. It's called Listening to the Masters. So if you ever go on Amazon and you're looking up my books, this book will pop up, and I have a writer's credit in it, but only because I wrote part of it. It's Ronnie's book, but I wrote the introduction to it, and so I got the writer's credit. And great book about martial arts. If you are ever into martial arts, read that book because he interviews Ralph Jaschke and some of the great martial artists of our time.
That's amazing.
So yeah, so anyways. All right, back on. What are we? We got so far off topic. I don't even know where I'm. We went into scuba diving and then fish, and
that's the beauty of it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Just hanging out.
Yeah.
Actually, we have a couple questions here.
Okay.
And so, let's see here. What is your favorite published work? I'm gonna assume it's gonna be The Locker.
Oh wait. So favorite published is definitely The Locker. It was a great learning experience to write it. All of my friends loved it. By far my best moneymaker. The books made me a good chunk of change. And it kind of got me on noticed by some real authors. I'm still not a real author. I'm kind of a pretender to the throne. Did you take my questions? You did.
I did.
Okay. Well,
they're
you know
right
what?
here.
There's 2 of them.
Oh, you stacked them up here?
Yeah. I need the big print
Bam.
one.
Tiffany?
He can have the small print one.
I want you to
I was
to
going
hit
to
him
ask,
with the 13. Oh, what were you gonna say?
you were talking about how you've been working on your craft a lot. What does that look like day to day?
So, you mean my writing craft?
your writing
or
craft.
Okay, so not my kung fu craft. Got it.
Either.
We won't get on topic again.
So it was kind of funny because I graduated from Coronado High School, who had the greatest English teachers, obviously, because they prepared me for college so well. Mrs. Mensch, Mrs. McKee, Coach Nixon, Coach Thomas, they also taught other subjects as well as being coaches. But Coronado High School, we're kind of a small little town. Everybody knows everybody. And the high school, my high school was awesome. And so I graduated and I knew how to put a sentence together. And, I knew the difference, what a preposition was and that kind of stuff. And so, like I said, I was really prepared when I got to college, so much so that, Judson McGee kind of gave me a pass for a semester. And then, like I said, I didn't do much. I did some technical writing. Once I got into the special operations field with the military. I wrote some instructional texts on explosive breaching, which is using explosives to cut portals in walls and blow doors off. Remember I said jump out of airplanes and blow shit?
Oh, wow.
Okay, well, so I am a certified explosive breacher, and as well as I wrote some technical manuals, especially on sniping, the sniper craft, but they were all technical, very dry information kind of thing. And I always thought if you make it an interesting read, the people will pick up on it better. And so I read a book called The Ultimate Sniper by John L. Plaster. Super great writer, great information. It's outdated now, a lot of it. But as far as learning the craft, you can't go wrong with that. But sorry, I'm going to throw everybody's name out there because some of the people that I've interacted with over my career. But he had written this book called The Ultimate Sniper, and he always had a story to go along with the material. A story. He interviewed, guys from Vietnam and some other stuff. Now he was in the Army. So Army snipers are about here. Marine Corps snipers are about here. So what did the Marine Corps do? They sent me to Army Sniper School. So I'm a graduate of Army Sniper School. So don't get me going. So anyways, so I'd done some technical writing, and then like I said, the night I retired, I sat down and I said, you know what, I'm gonna take a crack at writing a book. And so I sat down, I roughed out the locker. There's two type of writers. There's an organized writer who plans out his work, and they have certain bullet points, and there's the beginning and here's the end, and this is how I'm going to get from point A to point B.
Yeah.
So those are the organized, neat people. And then over here are the pantsters. And we write by the seat of our pants. I have no idea. In the locker, I kind of knew where it was going to go, but I was integrating stories, and I had to fictionalize them. So it kind of gave me my literary license, so to speak, to kind of wander off. And man, my stories just, I'll start writing something, and I'll go, well, wouldn't it be cool if this happened? Oh, but what about this, And next thing, my little squirrel brain is just off in left field.
Now, you actually, when I met you, you told me, you actually gave me advice. I was like, I'd like to write sometime. I was thinking about doing that. I used to do it as a kid. And you said, well, a gentleman gave you advice one day. I'll let you kind of recuperate and tell me who that was exactly. And you said, he basically said, once you start writing, just continue to tell your story. Don't worry about going back, looking at it, punctuation, all this other crap that gets your mind off track. Let the editors deal with that. Who said that?
Right. So write the book. So I was talking to a gentleman named Wayne Stinnett. He's written the Caribbean Adventure series, and he had. He's friends with Clive Cussler, who's a world famous author, and I said, God, I kind of have to bust through this. And I'd only spoken to him a couple times. We had connected on Facebook, and he had a question about sniping. He's a former Marine, but he had not been. And I said, what do you need to know? And so I kind of helped him out. And I said, well, I'm writing a book, and I said, what's your best? And he said, write the book. Don't worry about any of that other stuff. Tell your story, write the book. There's copy editors to fix stuff. There's people that'll come through, and they will make sure that your plot lines are continuous and they make sense. And there's all that other stuff. Write the book. And one of the things that I find most offensive is, well, sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's offensive. So when I went back to Coronado, and here I am, this author, and so I'm at the Coronado Public Library, and we're having an author panel, and people are asking us questions, and it was funny. My English teacher looked at me and goes, somebody said, "Oh yeah, Ted Nulty's a best-selling author," and she goes, Ted Nulty, he wrote a book." And she goes, "Really?" And she goes, "Is it a kid's book or is she?"
Yeah.
She was just hilarious. She was like, "Really?" Because in my defense, I was a little bit of a troublemaker in Coronado when I was growing up. So
I could see.
But so, anyways, like I've met some people and they'll go, "You wrote a book?" And I'll go, "Yeah." And they go, "Oh, well then I can write a book." I was like, "What?" Like and I'm admitting right now I am an idiot, okay? But when they go, "Oh, well if you could do it, then I could do it." It's like, "What? You're inherently better than me?"
Yeah,
you
what
know?
the heck, man?
Well, I got a couple of bestsellers under my belt. What if, "Oh, well I could do it. If you could do it, I could do it." Well, shit, anybody can do it, But, being successful at it is a whole different thing. So it's kind of offensive when somebody goes, "Well, if you wrote a book, then it's like,
Yeah.
And so those kind of things can be a little bit of offensive. But,
You got to take it as if you're inspiring someone else to do something.
Yeah, but some of them it's condescending. Some of them, the greatest feeling I get. So Gary Webb, friend of mine, his yacht backs up to the back of my yacht, and we met, became good friends down at the marina. And Gary said, "I haven't read a book in 25 years. He works in the automotive industry, and I gave him a copy of The Locker, and 4 days later he comes out and his eyes are baggy. He goes, "Oh my God," he goes. "That was the best." He goes, "Do you have any more books?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "I haven't read a book in years." He goes, and now he is the most voracious reader, and he attributes that to having read my books. And I was like, how great is that that somebody got back into writing? And I hear that a lot, especially with The Locker and Gone Feral. People come back and they like, "I read books now. I used to never read." And it doesn't matter if it's on a Kindle or a Dead Tree copy or whatever. It's just awesome that people read your book and get inspired. The other huge inspiration I get, one of my publishers went to Antarctica.
Oh, wow.
And visited one of the science stations down there, and sitting on the shelf was a copy of my book. And that makes me officially read in all 7 continents on this earth. And we've distributed to China and Europe and Africa. And, my fans will send me pictures. Here I am in South Africa sitting on the beach. Because we're in the scuba community, they'll say, "Yeah, we're going to go out and do a white shark dive. Oh, and look what I found in the library. Here's Ted's book." And there's a picture of them reading The Locker on the beach in Fiji, in Africa, the UK. The UK, Gone Feral is huge in the UK. So.
She has some illicit questions on there she wanted to actually kind of cover with you. That's amazing, my man. I have a question actually. So if it's in all these other different countries, out of curiosity, are they available in other languages other than English?
They're available any language that Amazon prints in, which I think is 100 and something languages. You can get it. It'll also do text to speech, so you can have it. Your Kindle can read the book to you in whatever language you have set up on your Kindle.
That's killer.
Japanese, Chinese, Balinese, whatever. German.
So I want to actually ask you another question here. So when we were speaking on the phone, you said, I'm going to nonchalantly say, you said something about this potentially becoming an MOVIE.
Yes. So The Locker has gone into production once. We developed a screenplay. A friend of mine gave a copy of the book to Nestor Carbonell, he was the sheriff in the Bates Motel series. He was the mayor in the Batman Begins. Super talented, nicest guy on the planet. Seriously, one of the nicest guys on the planet. He read the book. He said, "Look, it's got to be a movie," and I said, "Okay." And so we sat down. We started the screenwriting process. Things kind of petered out. It didn't really go that far. Then one of my fraternity brothers, Bo Turpin, who's been a producer in Hollywood and stuff, one of my nearest and dearest friends, he's currently a producer with Bluestone Media. So he and I sat down. We got the screenplay figured out. We actually got to the point where we were doing product placement for the movie. So there's a lot of shootouts.
What is product placement?
So product placement, like say we were in the movie, you'll notice if the can is turned sideways and you can't read it, they didn't pay for sponsorship. But if there's, if it's like Robex, then Robex will have paid to put that in the movie.
Okay. Okay. So there's a lot of shootouts and.
Yes, and so a lot of the gun manufacturers, I sent out copies of the book to various CEOs. Mark Boardman from Vortex Optics, nicest guy in the world. I said, hey, we're making a movie. If you'd like to get your optics, and he said, okay, sure. He goes, what are you looking at? I go, well, read the book, whatever you think, you could get in there, right. And next thing I know, like $300,000 worth of rifle scopes and pistol scopes and mounts, and it just shows up on my front door.
Goodness gracious.
And I'm like, wow. So Savage built us a rifle, a sniper rifle to be used. We have a Barrett. They're just awesome people. So we have a whole bunch of vendors that have come forward and said, hey, wear our sunglasses. And so what you do is you sell that screen time. So for every second that your product is on in the movie with the name visible, we charge about $160,000 per second with a minimum of 3 seconds.
Wow.
Right? So, and that's how you get product placement done. And that gives you your what they call your box money or your base money to start developing the movie. So I had some incredible people come out and say they gave us product, but they didn't give us any cash up front. But what we would do is we would bill them afterwards. So next thing I know, I have crates of guns showing up at my house, like real guns, right? I have clothing and other stuff. Joe Chambers built us a custom 45, which we combined with the Vortex optic from Chambers Custom Pistol. Guy's one of the best 45 caliber gun manufacturers in the world. He builds really nice gear.
The best of the best.
Yeah, so he sends, us clothing to wear, offset. So all the actors, so the talent gets a swag bag when they come on the crew, and the swag bag includes a hat, a shirt from Chambers Customs, and a shirt from whoever else, and they get all this big stack of gear, that they get for being in the movie.
Yeah.
And some of it's jewelry, some of it just a ton of gunk. I shouldn't say gunk.
Just throwing Rolexes out.
Yeah. So yeah. So they. But anyway. So that's it. So we got the movie into production. Fell out of production. Fox. Disney bought Fox. I'd been in negotiations with them. They broke it up, and Disney said no more violent movies. Deadpool is a Disney product. So they broke it off. They made it into Baja Pictures. And there was a whole bunch of corporate scrambling and things went on. Anyways, it fell out of production. So we have just renegotiated. We're going back into production now. I'm friends with Will Turpin from the band Collective Soul.
Right on.
And he and Brian Collins own a studio that does a bunch of stuff in Savannah, Georgia. So we're going out there. We're recording the audiobook, and we're doing some new technology. Usually you develop a screenplay, has to be 120 pages. There's certain guidelines. What they're doing is they're converting the actual script into an audiobook with sound effects and everything else. And then that's how they're pitching movies. So This is a brand new thing. The Locker is going to be the first one that gets pitched as an audiobook.
That's killer.
Really cool.
Yeah. So that's a new and so we'll see. So we're going back into production. We'd like to get it done with Bluestone Media. Great people out there. Bo Turpin, like I said, one of my best friends. He just got married to a wonderful gal, and I'm now Uncle Teddy to.
Quite a few people, I presume.
Yeah. So, anyways, so it's been pretty good, and it's.
Who do you want to play in the movies? Can you pick out the actors yourself, or does someone else do that?
Oh, I get approached. So.
You got approached. Okay.
Yeah. So Nick Cage is down for it. I've already picked out a couple. So for my sci-fi series that I know I'm going to make a movie out of it someday, if I have to finance it myself.
Yeah.
I've already picked out a couple of people to play in it. Yeah, so like I said, Nestor was interested in not only directing but acting in it. We don't know how that'll work. The scheduling is weird. So once we get over that final initial hump of getting the investor money together and some other stuff, then we'll put it out for talent. There's a casting director, and that's their job.
Right.
And I'll depending on how much money I put into it versus how much money the investors will determine what my exact level of power is, being able to select them. So, but basically, I would prostitute myself out to get anybody of interest to join it. So we'll see. We've spoken to some people that I've done executive protection work for in the past. Hollywood talent have expressed an interest in stuff like that. So
those who shall not be named.
Those who shall not be named. But you know who you are. People with long hair.
Oh, you can't name who you protected right now, but
who have I done in the past?
Yes, please.
So I will say I have pictures to back this up, but they would include Steven Tyler from Aerosmith, Boyz II Men. Oh God, Bruce Willis, Ari. Bruce Willis's bodyguard's a guy named Ari. He's a former Israeli guy. Kind of a tubby little dude, super nice guy. He could kick it. He's like this tall. He could maybe see over the table, but he will kick a soda can off the top of your head. Super good, super into martial arts. So we have that. So we've done. Oh God, I'm trying to think of former people. The Prince of Saudi Arabia. Prince Faisal.
The Prince Fahd. Just casual, just the Prince of Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, so that was interesting. So I've actually gone over. And trained the Saudi Secret Service, trained them marksmanship, a little bit on physical conditioning, some arrest and control stuff, and I had some really nice people. Did a protective detail for Princess Moody, who's the mother of Prince Faisal and Prince Fahd, and so done them. Trying to think of who I can say. I've done some celebrities down into Mexico when they were going down there.
Ever Justin Bieber?
Nope, never done
Tiffany's,
Justin Bieber.
fave?
But maybe a certain. I don't know if you guys ever see From Dusk Till Dawn with Tarantino.
Maybe when I was younger.
Oh, it's a vampire movie.
I think I've seen it. I was in film school, so I definitely think I've
seen it.
Yeah,
there may have been one or two actors or actresses that I took down into Mexico for that. So it was. So I've met some really cool people. I've done some.
Now, here's a question. In meeting these really cool people, as you say, does it inspire you to kind of just do more and continue being the awesome Ted Nulty the world knows today?
I don't know how awesome I am, but some of them are, like I said, some of them are just. You would meet him and Will Turpin, from the singer from Collective Soul. Yeah. He's just this regular guy. So he's like second cousin, 23 times removed from Bo Turpin, my fraternity brother guy. And so I met him at Bo's wedding. We met at the rehearsal dinner the night before the wedding, and his wife's name is Donna. My wife's name is Donna, and the two of them sat down, and within 6 minutes they were thick as thieves. And within 11 minutes, they were best friends. And so Will and I call them the Double Ds. And she's just this beautiful human being. And so then that night, we went out and we staggered around the entire city of Savannah, Georgia. We drank at all these different places and bars. And of course, and Brian Collins, Boo Boo, this is for you. Brian Collins, who's a very well-known singer. Anyways, he's... We all just went out. We just had a blast. We just went bar crawling for hours, hanging out, doing cool stuff. So then the wedding comes along, and we go through the wedding. Brian and Will both sang and performed at the wedding.
Wow.
Then afterwards, we packed stuff up, and they're like, "Oh, we got to get back to town." I said, "Oh, jump in. We'll give you a ride." And they go, "Okay." So we don't even make it into Savannah. It's like, "Hey, let's go pub crawling over here. Or let's go to this speakeasy over here." So after a couple of nights doing this, I get a text in the morning from Will, and he goes, "Hey, when's Will and Ted's next excellent adventure?" And I'm like, and this guy. So some background: when I was over in Somalia, we were at the Mogadishu airport. So, and I was a FATC, I was a forward air traffic controller, and the air traffic control cab, it's not a tower like you see at other airports. Yeah. It's just this little kind of hut on top of the terminal building down at the southern corner. The building's like this. It's the very south part. Then there's the hangar, the famous Black Hawk Down hangar is off to the side.
Cool.
And so we had a picture. I have a picture from in front of that hangar before the whole Black Hawk Down thing happened. But anyways, any night that we walked into the hangar, you could always hear Collective Soul, Jesus Jones, or EMF, because that was like the music. That was you would walk in that hangar, and we had this big silver boombox. This was back in the day now, right?
Yeah.
This thing was huge. It took like 24D batteries. It weighed 5,000 pounds. You needed 6 people in a forklift to pick it up. It was huge. But that thing was always on in the corner. It was always, and so I told Will about it. And poor Will's already, I've already told the story a million times because I thought it was so cool. And then I'm calling on my Marine Corps buddies. I'm like, yeah, well, I just met Will Turpin from Collective Soul. And they're like, no way, So, but that was and one of my fondest memories was the day the Marines, we pulled out, the Army came in and took over. I was in a CH-53 and we're pulling up and we're flying out to the amphibious assault ship. And we're in this helicopter, and one of my guys, Brandon, is in the back of the helicopter with this massive, and CH-53s with the ramp down are loud, right? Not for this boombox, man. He's back there, and we're listening to Shine from Collective Soul as we're pulling out. And so I told Will that story, and he's like, oh, man, that really that's really cool. That I said, I got to tell you, man, we listen to your music all the time over there. So anyway, so that's my I'm cool because I hang out with Collective Soul story. So
that's killer.
What do you think? Do you think that writing the book helped you with other ventures you've had, business ventures you've had, or vice versa, with you being in the Marine Corps and all that?
Well, so my writing process is this: I'm driving down the street, I'll see somebody do something really, really stupid, and my wife will go, "Oh, that needs to go in the book." And then she pulls out her phone and she makes a note. And so that's my writing process. I see something stupid. So you go on Good Morning America and they're like, oh my God, your books are so real. And where do you get your information? I go, this is not me being creative. This is me seeing something insanely stupid and funny in real life. And I just put it in a book. That's all it is. That's my creative process right there. But writing the books, I think they've made me, you had asked me about improving my craft, right? So I thought, well, I've written a couple of books. Maybe I should go take a class on how to write books, right? So I go in there and I went into one of the local community colleges and I signed up for this Tuesday, Thursday night, not 8 a.m., Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday night, which conflicted a little bit with my flight school. But anyways, and I sat down and they all, I'm in there and I'm the old dude. I'm like 50 years old and there's nothing but 18 and 20-year-old kids in there, So I'm kind of looking around and they go, are you here to teach? I go, no, I'm here to learn. And so the teacher walks in and she's maybe 27, 28 years old. And she says, well, this is a creative writing class. And now we got to remember, I'd already gone through 300 level English classes in real college. And I'd already done creative writing, but it had been 28, 30 years, right?
Refresher.
Yeah. So so I thought, maybe I better see if things have changed. And, like you used to always put 2 spaces after a period, you don't do that anymore. And there's just some little technical stuff, but I also wanted to see I was going to feel out and make my classmates my test bed for maybe another project. Oh. And so I got in there and the first couple classes were okay, and then she said, is there any work that you've done in the past that you would like to submit for a grade? And I go, well, would that include like a published novel? And she goes, you're published? And I said, well, yeah. And she goes, what have you published? And she looks at me, and the guy sitting next to me goes, what was your last name? And I go, Nulty. And he's right there, man. He's like, and right in the middle of class, he goes, he goes, this guy's got he's got 5-star ratings on Amazon. And so the next thing, and it was kind of funny because the teacher comes over and she had self-published a book and she'd sold about 70 books in a year kind of thing. The Locker, the very first weekend that it came out, sold like 123 copies the first day, So, and, she had, I think she had like maybe 5 reviews on this book, and it was a book about nature, and so I got it, and she was always kind of hoity-toity, like very superior to her students and stuff, and she would always say, well, if you're going to be commercially successful, you need to do this, and so I kind of look at that and I'm like, she has 7 reviews. She's been published for 3 years. I have 900 plus reviews, and I've been published for a couple of years, and so it was very awkward, you know? And the next thing I know, the next 2 classes were spent with her and the other students grilling me about how to become a successful writer. And I said, this is not what I came here for. I came here to learn from you guys, And so I wound up, for the first time, I dropped out of a college class.
Yeah. How long did you last?
Huh?
How long did you last in there?
3 weeks.
Well, that's longer than I thought, honestly.
So, I gave it a shot. And then, and part of it is I'm a narcissistic butthole, so, and she, and she would say things that were just, I busted my chops having people criticize my work and stuff like that. And she would say things and I would say, well, that's not exactly true, but you don't want to tell your teacher, right? And then once I realized that, it didn't matter what grade I got, it really didn't matter what grade I got because whatever. But finally I kind of said, that's not really true, and, and then it got to the point where she's, at the end of class, she would say, hey, can I ask you a couple of questions? And the students would leave. And then she's saying, going on. And it turns out one of her her only 5-star review, she did herself. And that's like a taboo thing. The one thing you don't ever want to do, especially with Amazon, is either pay somebody to give you a positive review or write a review on your own books yourself. That's verboten. And Amazon actually has algorithms. All the
algorithms.
And they will strip your reviews from your book. Mm-hmm. So at one point I had, like thousands of reviews, and then these people started coming out and they would say, hey, for $500, I will log into Amazon under these different names and I will leave you 5-star reviews. And Amazon uses, so if you get 50 reviews, doesn't matter what kind they are, just 50, which means you sold 50 books, Amazon puts you on their like tier 5 promotional list, which means every once in a while your book gets thrown out in an advertisement for whatever genre you're doing. Yeah. Then if you get to like 10 1-star reviews plus 50 reviews, they move you up to all the way up until you're a best-selling author, you're getting, 5-star reviews and all that kind of stuff. And then Amazon found out about these people that were paying. So Amazon started doing backlink technology. So I tell people, don't be my friends on Facebook and leave a review for my books because that review will automatically get stripped away. But in the meantime, Amazon is telling us, hey, promote your books. They expect you, excuse me, I got an itch in the ear. They expect you to go out and develop a street team and get people to promote your books and stuff like that. Well, the way you do that is you develop a fan base so that when your new book comes out, so Tiffany's my newest fan. I don't know if you know that. But Tiffany's going to go out and she's going to go on Facebook and she's going to hold up a cup of the locker and she's going to go, oh my God, I just read this book by my friend Nulty. It was awesome, right? But if she's my friend on Facebook, Amazon every month or so looks, and if she's a friend, then they consider that to be a biased review, and they pull it.
What?
Well, if you pull a bunch of those, eventually my 900 5-star reviews goes down to 70. And you need to have, so the tier 1 threshold is 150 5-star reviews with 500 plus reviews. And in that case, Amazon, you go out, because you're making Amazon money, and Amazon will go out and promote your book, and they set things up for you. They're your friends, But if they find out that you're falsely promoting or doing something outside of what they like, they strip those reviews. You come off of the promotional mailers, your sales plummet, and I don't get to buy any new Ferraris, which kind of sucks. But
so when you were, did you spend a lot of money marketing your book then?
None.
None.
So the other thing that I learned, you were talking about great advice. So I was talking to authors. The money should always flow to you, not from you. So if they have what are called vanity presses, and they'll come up and they'll say, "Hey Ted, we will market your book. We'll get it in front of 9 bazillion readers, and we'll do this and this. All you got to do is give us $5,000." And what they do is they send out. They have an email list of readers that they've gleaned off of Facebook, and then they go out and so you give them $5,000. So on this book, it sells for $12.99 on Amazon. Okay, I sell them for $15 at a book signing, but it's got my signature. My signature, by the way, plus $6 will get you a cup of coffee at Starbucks. Wonderful. But you got to remember the $6. How much is a cup of coffee now? $7. $7. My signature and $7 will get you a cup of coffee. No, so. But on this Dead Tree copy, if I sell one of these books, my royalty for that one book sold is about $3. Okay, so that means to make back that $5,000, right? I have to sell like 1,600 books. Okay, so and the number of books that they sell for you is not 15 or 16.
It's like in the hundreds.
Yeah, maybe a couple hundred, And I mean, I get that. Every once in a while, I go, like I'm a member of a bunch of crime fiction Facebook pages and horror, and every once in a while they'll say, "Hey, authors, post a clean link to your book and let us know, so that our readers." And so I do that. It costs me this many dollars, and I'll get 20, 30 sales out of it. But the fan base is what counts, because once you get a fan base, once somebody's read one of your books, then they go, "Well, shit, this was good." And then they read another one, and then they tell their friends. And that trickle down, that pyramid scheme is what you're looking for. You want 50 writers who like your work enough to recommend it to 2 of their friends, who then recommend it to 2 more, and you can see how that umbrellas out into a healthy paycheck, which, by the way, I just got today. So my royalty check coming in, let me go back to the email, Amazon accounts payable right here, is going to be $29,000 this month.
That's
awesome.
Not bad. That's
livable wage.
That's like a good house payment right there.
Yeah. So it's Amazon KDP royalty payment notification, right? I mean,
amazing.
God bless Amazon, So, I have to go back to the question thing.
Well, actually, I have a follow-up question. A few moments ago, you were talking about how your wife would kind of take notes, things like that, as something you saw on the side of the road or whatever it may be. If someone doing something goofy, Tiffany is literally like the same for me. It's really good to have a supportive partner, right? And that's why I want to actually bring your wife on here, like the next time, and kind of get her side of what it's like being the wife of
a narcissistic butthead.
Yeah. So like how is she supportive? Like, this is your chance to really kind of up yourself for her when she hears this.
I would be dust without her. So she is my partner in the fullest sense of the word. She works with my security company. She does payroll. She does uniforms, inventory. She is the glue that holds us together. I'm the security guy. I know security. I know physical security. I know leadership. I know how to get my people to do their job the way they're supposed to. And although I maybe could do 80% of the job she does, or do her job with 80% effectiveness, I could never come close to her level of just, Now, again, we mentioned the part that my wife is a terrifying individual, right?
Oh, I can't forget that.
Yeah, so most of my employees, I'll walk into a room, they're like, "Hey, Ted, what's up?" My wife walks in, everybody goes quiet, they all hook out of fear, So, but she and I, our oldest daughter had cancer. She was a total rock. I mean, she held everything together while we were looking at our oldest daughter dying and looking at some really horrific stuff in our life. Our daughter survived. She's now a doctor down at Rady Children's Hospital, treating cancer kids, which she was one of a few years ago.
Amazing.
Yeah, she is. So, and
that's bringing a tear to my eye. Can you see it?
Well, let me segue into this. 5 kids. All 5 of my kids are rock stars. We got Dawn and I. They all graduated high school. Nobody pregnant. Nobody in jail. We got them all in and out of college. Nobody pregnant or in jail, except for one who was married, who has given us our granddaughter. So pretty good there. Nobody in jail. Although we had a couple of rough spots, but our oldest is a doctor. The next oldest works for me in our patrol division. The next oldest is Abby. She runs the dive shop in Maui. Very successful. I thought I was going to have to put a lot of money in there. She's running a profitable, good business. I mean, just she's cool. And the next one down is the senior paralegal at Reed and Riddell here in town. She's in law, smarter than almost every lawyer she faces in court. You remember Erin Brockovich, how she kind of like in the movie, Julia Roberts goes after the attorney for the other firm, and my daughter Tessa's like that. She'll look at other lawyers and go, "Shut up, you're stupid. This is what's going to happen." So she's feisty. She was the one we thought was going to be in jail.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. So now she's
turns
working.
Out
she's working in a law firm. And last but not least is our daughter Maris. She works in biotech, right? Literally a rocket scientist. She's a bioscientist. Yeah. She does project management for the pharmaceutical industry. So all of my kids, absolutely. And then what was funny is when Alexis got cancer, the kids all got together, and this will bring a tear to your eyes. They all got together and they said, "Look, this is going to be really hard on Ted and Donna, on mom and dad. So we're going to do everything we can to make it easy." They did this on their own. We're going to do everything we can to make it easy on them. And so the older kids helped the younger kids with homework. Everybody took chores on and Donna was working at night. Donna is a radiologist. She was working at night, and the nights that she wasn't working, and I would have the kids, and then the nights that she wasn't working, I was working as a cop, and we were exhausted. Alexis was sick. She was in and out of chemo. She wound up having her leg amputated. It was just a nightmare time. But our kids got together. They gave up sports. They gave up after-school activities so somebody could always be with their sister. We gutted my living room, put a hospital bed in there so she could have her own space and be able. And the kids were just freaking rock stars. So when I started making really good money, I bought my daughter Abby. I bought her a BMW, and I told the kid, "Whatever you want, car." They were. I see, I'm ready to cry right now. They were such good kids that. I can't spoil them enough, And everybody's like, "Oh, you're gonna spoil your kids." I go, "How in the hell?" They gave up their childhood to help their mother and I through it. That's like the kid who gives up going to school and helps raise his siblings. They literally did that. So we're just gonna end with my kids are freaking awesome, and like I said, they kept minimum stress. They didn't get into any trouble. I didn't have to deal with any drama with some rebellious teenager who didn't come home late at night or whatever. They were just golden. They were just great kids, every single one of them. So, and that made it easy for us. So Donna and I, we gave ourselves A's as parents. So we had 5 kids, 9 legs, but that's still 90%, right? We still had 90% of the limbs. 95 if you count arms too. That's still an A. I still get an A, right? That's still an A. Yeah, so
like an A minus, but
So yeah, but we had 5 kids, 9 out of 10 legs to adulthood. So we considered it all good, and so anyways, I'm gonna start crying. Good.
Well, yeah. So we have thank you so much for sharing this this heartwarming and just deep stories and about your personal life, man. Thank you.
We didn't cover hardly any questions, did we?
No.
I'm sorry, you guys. I'm off for rambling.
The Stressful to Successful podcast. We have a couple questions we really wanted to really pick your brain on, Ted. To where, Tiffany, I think you can explain this a hell of a lot better than I can.
I don't know what you were saying.
Well,
but I think we kind of wanted to touch on your security business and how you were able to grow that from how you started and how you were able to grow it.
So my security business, I was a young Marine. I told you I was a forward air traffic controller. I used to have to sit my position at El Toro as an air traffic controller. And I would come home down to my parents. My parents lived in Ocean Beach. and I would come down to Ocean Beach on the weekends. Well, I would stop in Flower Hill Mall in Del Mar. And so back in the day, they had a video arcade there called High Tech Only. It had video games and stuff like that.
Was it like where you had to like give the actual quarters? Or okay,
yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Where's this at again?
It's not there anymore. So. But it was High Tech Only. So, and I was dating a girl that worked in the one of the restaurants there, and so I would get off Friday afternoon, and I would drive down. I would stop, and I would wait for this gal to get off work, and I would go hang out in the video arcade. I mean, I would just sit there, and I got to know the manager, and one night there was a couple of kids got into a fight over who knows what, and one of the kids threatened the manager, who was a kind of slender guy, and so I walked over and I grabbed him by his earlobes. I grabbed another kid by the earlobes, and I walked him outside. I said, you know what, this is not the place to do it. Just go away. And one of their friends came out, so there's three of them in the parking lot. Turned into a bit of a scuffle, so I kung fu'd the shit out of all three of them. And so they're lying there on the ground. These are Del Mar kids, right? So it's not like I was dealing with some.
She's a Del Mar kid.
Yeah. So, anyways, did you go to Torrey Pines High School?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Well, so anyways, so I turned around, walked back inside, and the manager goes, you know what? You're here every Friday anyways. Why don't you let us pay you $10 an hour? We'll throw a security shirt on you, and you can have all the free video games you want. And, they would always buy dinner and stuff. And I was like, well, shit, might as well make money. I'd have a little cash every weekend. You
don't need those for the quarters.
Yeah. Well, they gave me free. So they have red back then. So back in the old day, video arcades, you would paint a quarter red. And that would, if say the game ripped you off a quarter, well, they would give you a red quarter to put into the game, and then that red quarter wouldn't count as sales when they took the quarters out. So they would have a vendor who serviced the machines and stuff, and the arcade would get a portion of those proceeds. Anyways, so I had all the red quarters I could want. Man, I could play Pac-Man and Galaga and Asteroid. Oh my God, Asteroid! Shit, man. So I could just sit there, but I couldn't really because. Now all of a sudden I'm this responsible guy. I have to be security, Mm-hmm. So I did that for maybe 2 months, and there was an art gallery next door, and I'd gotten there a little bit. I'd gotten off early, and I cruised into the video arcade, and this homeless guy was shoplifting, and he had shoplifted this brass statue of a deer, a stag with the horns. And so one of the employees tried to stop him, and the guy stabbed him with this brass statue, right? What? So, and I had heard the ruckus, and this lady starts screaming. The guy staggers out of the store, and he's holding his hand like this. He's got blood, and I was like, holy, I thought he'd been shot, kind of thing. And this homeless guy walks out, and he's cussing and swearing like, well, So I was like, oh hell no. So I kung fu'd the shit out of him, right? Bam, dump him on the ground, took his thing, gave it back, and the property manager finds out for the whole mall, and she's like, oh my God. She goes, why don't you do security? And I'm like, I don't own a security company, I go, I'm just doing this part-time. She goes, oh, well, come to work for this contract company, which shall remain nameless, because I've taken about $20 million worth of business from them now. But anyways,
guys. Sorry about that.
Yeah. So I started working for that company. And then I found out that company was ripping off its clients. And so I went to her and I said, hey, look, I have a security clearance in the Marine Corps. I can't keep working for them. If a DA finds out what this company's doing, I could get indicted. I go, I can't.
Damn, it was that bad, huh?
Oh, it was bad. It was fraud. It was commercial fraud to the tune of several $100,000.
And you want no part of it.
And I wanted no part of it. Back then I had morals. I have no morals now. Okay. But back then I had morals. So anyways, so I said, and she goes, well, fine. She goes, you're going to start your own company. And so I started looking into it, and it's like a 2-year process to get a license. She just told
you. She was like, hey, okay, well, you're doing your own thing now? So
what she did is she said, hire some guys. You can work for us in-house until you get your license, which is exactly what happened. So I worked for the shopping center for about 8 months until I got my license, and that's how my security company started. And then I built it through sweat equity. You know what sweat equity is, right? You know what sweat equity is?
Will you explain it a little bit for the listeners?
Okay.
I know what it is, but...
Okay. So sweat equity is you build up your business's worth by doing the work yourself. So what would happen is my first actual contract outside of Flower Hill Mall was the Beach Walk Mall in Solana Beach. And what I did was I came off active duty, went down to a reserve status with the Marine Corps. And so I got this contract, and I worked that contract every day for 30 days. And then I billed the client. And then I kept working it for another 30 days until that money came in. And then I hired one guy to work 5 days a week there. But I already had that money was already coming in. So that sweat that I put into that first 60 days gave me the income to take on that account. And then by the time I was at 90 days, I had enough income had come in to be able to uniform and equip my officers and get payroll covered for them for the ongoing future. So I had that equity built up. Yeah. Then what happened is I went out to my next client and I said, it was a small shopping center down in Pacific Beach, and I worked that. But now I had a little bit of money to work with, right? So I only worked that 5 days a week, and I brought in a part-time employee for 2 days a week. And I did that for a month until that money was coming in. And then I hired somebody. And so by investing my time and my sweat, I developed the business into what you guys saw today. I have as of the first, we'll have 206 clients, $12.65 billion worth of commercial real estate that we're providing security to throughout the county. Now I'm in the point, now we're big enough, obviously, where if I take on a new account, I can just throw a new body. I usually like to go out and work the first week or so myself, just because clients like to be able to call me and say, hey, this is what's going on. And I need to be intimately familiar with what's going on. So that knowledge, you can point to any one of those client sites on the map. I can tell you where it is. I can tell you where the homeless people hang out, where the drug dealers are. I have that knowledge. And that is that's a feeling of security that my property managers and property owners get when they deal with me. And they don't get, some person in an office who goes, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. We'll do whatever. We know exactly what's going on at all of those 206 properties. We know them. My management knows them. I know them. My guards know them. So that's how we built up that equity and the trust with our clients, Yeah. And one of the best business lessons I learned is if you do a good job, you don't need to cheat anybody. I don't need to. I document everything. I've been audited 3 times in the last 15 years. And my deal with my clients is you can audit me once, no harm, no foul. Everybody needs to feel a little secure, right? Audit me once, I will give you documentation. We videotape everything. We have, the body cameras and stuff like that. So everything we do is documented and it's uploaded we have an app that our clients can log on to and look and see exactly what's going on.
At that moment.
At whatever. At any incident that we've had, anytime we talk to somebody, whether it's a medical call, a lost dog, a lost child, or shoplifting, shooting, stabbing, whatever, it's all documented. And then we use that to bill the clients appropriately. So I had one client, request an audit. I go, here you go. Well, I don't think you're getting out to all my sites. I said, all of our vehicles have double redundant GPS trackers. We use MileIQ, we use Pebblebee, we use Garmin. So we know exactly where our vehicles were at what time. And I can say, well, our vehicle was here at this time, this time, and this time. Call it up on Quip. Here's the video from this contact. Mm-hmm. Nothing happened here. Nothing happened here. So we have zero issues with being able to present in the eyes of the court sufficient documentation to prove that we did our job. So they can't deny us payment for that. Right. And then because our billing is based off of that, you can audit our books. So the first audit is on us, no problem, no worries. You audit me a second time, and then that's where I say, hey, look, are you sure you want to do this? Because our contract states that every time there's a contact, we get to bill you an hour. And we don't always do that because sometimes contacts only take us 15, 20 minutes, but it's still an hour because it has to be uploaded. Supervisors have to review it. It has to be sent to the client.
There's a lot of back end work.
The back end work, exactly. So, and I say, if we audit, I'm going to bill you for everything that we haven't billed you for. And we completely overservice our accounts. If your contract says that we're going to patrol your property 3 times a day, we're there 4 to 5 times a day. You know,
Right on.
very rarely are we there, just because it benefits us because we bill for those contact hours.
Yeah.
So they have a subscription fee that they pay, and then they pay in addition to that. So we just over-service the heck out of the accounts, right? And it generates us great money, but we document everything, so we're golden. And in over-servicing, the tenants feel much better, and we get the positive reviews. You know, hey, this is the greatest security company ever, whatever. So the second time we got audited by this client, who is still a great client, by the way, and has not audited us since. It turned out that we had underbilled them $3,800 for the previous month, right? And so I sent him the bill, and I sent him all the documentation, and he goes, "What is this?" And I said, "Well, that's what we didn't bill you for last month." And he goes, "Well, why are you billing it to me now?" And I said, "Because I'm taking tens of my hours to prepare all this audit documentation for you. That's time out of my day. So normally we would wait and have 2 or 3 of these 20-minute contacts before we bill you an hour. But now I'm having to go back, reformat, redo all this stuff. So now I'm billing you the full hour. So what you only got billed 1 hour for before, I'm going to bill you the 3 hours under our contract." And that was the end of that. So we don't get, so now that company does not audit us anymore. Yep. They're like, just let it go. You know, every once in a while they'll come in and they'll check up on stuff. But that goes to being the best in your field, you know. And one of the lessons I learned was do a good job, do it properly. And again, remember the original company I had worked for was fraudulently billing the clients that I had worked for. And finally, I was like the whistleblower. I said, "Hey, I can't work here anymore. This is why I'm going to wind up in jail for doing this stuff." And the company had asked me to do stuff. And what's funny is the manager at the security company I worked for had just gotten out of either the Air Force or the Navy or one of those other weird services, whatever. and he was in the hiring process for San Diego PD.
Oh, no kidding.
And then he wound up getting hired by San Diego PD, and he wound up was a couple years ago was convicted for fraud and theft on the job. So we won't say any names. Yeah, so he's so he was a real piece of work, but he had literally ordered me to commit fraud, and that's when I said I can't. And then he got hired by the cops, and eventually it all caught up to him, and he's in jail now. So,
well, I mean, when you're doing something bad and then you go into law enforcement, do you think that it's gonna just you have more power to hide it?
yeah, you can't act like that. So I tell all my guys, I said, every single second that you are wearing my uniform or driving my car, just consider yourself to be. Everybody's got a cell phone. Everybody's got a camera. Everything you do can be recorded. So just be squeaky clean.
What's wrong with that?
There's nothing
You know
wrong
what I
with it.
mean?
Squeaky clean. Just do it right. Do it honestly. Don't have a problem. And eventually, I've had cases where somebody's yelled and screamed, and I said, "Well, that's good. I'm going to audit your video." And I've had them. So the time when I got hit in the face with the baseball bat, I was thumping on a guy. Him and his friends, they didn't like the fact that I had pushed their drug business out of this small strip mall, and they waited one night. They jumped me, and
they waited and they like watched you, wait for you to come on your clock to be there, and then they just
attacked me.
Wow.
But California's a very liberal state, and if you're wearing any kind of authority, security guard, cop, whatever, the general public will do everything they can to make you feel bad, to make you look bad. So this guy comes at me, takes a swing at me. I dump him on the ground. I'm sitting on him. Another guy comes at me. I kick his legs. And now I'm dealing with 2 opponents. It eventually turned into 5. So at that point, I'm not doing the politically correct arrest and control. I'm poking eyes and I'm jabbing throats and I'm literally breaking legs and breaking arms because it's 5 guys will kill you.
It's your life or their.
And I'm going home every single night. I may go home with stab wounds. I may go home shot, whatever, but I'm going home. And so this guy videotapes, but he doesn't videotape the initial attack on me. And he starts turning anytime I start winning, he's videotaping. But anytime they're punching me, he would turn the video away or turn it off. right?
It sounds familiar, like what you see on the socials,
Or on the news.
Absolutely.
one-sided.
Yeah, and so finally, meanwhile the cops get called and stuff. So I finally got this guy, and I've got him on the ground, and his arm is 2 millimeters away from breaking, right?
Okay.
And the first cop rolls up, and he looks at me and he goes, "Oh, okay," and I go, "Hey, this is it," and I said, "Here's the video," and he goes, "Okay, I got it." And the video shows me approaching the guy, saying, "Hey, I need you to get up and go." Guy gets up, starts wailing on me. His friends come in, and I have it all on my video, right?
Yeah.
Well, meanwhile, this bystander, total uninvolved guy, has recorded this, and I see him over to the side, and he's like working on his phone, and then he goes over. So the second cop pulls up, and he's a young, badge-heavy officer, and this guy walks up to him and goes, "Hey, that security guard's just wailing away on these poor innocent homeless people," right? And they were all drug dealers too, and there was no innocence there.
Poor innocent drug dealers.
Yeah. No, he said innocent homeless people, right? And he goes, and this guy just comes up and just starts wailing on him and hitting him, and look at that guy's got a bloody nose, and that guy's ear is half torn off, and that guy, and I'm sitting there, and I'd already taken a shot to the face. I'll show you the picture. They had collapsed my orbital bone, right, with this bat.
Yeah.
And I'd rolled back and I pulled my gun, and I was like, I'm gonna fucking kill you. Excuse me. I apologize. We're gonna edit that out.
You can cuss on this channel. It's okay.
Okay. So I said, well, I'm gonna effing kill you, right? And everybody froze, and 3 of them ran away. The other 2, one wasn't gonna walk because I literally blew out his knee kicking it, and the other guy was on the ground and he was semi-conscious. But this young cop comes up, takes one look at the video that this guy has, walks over to me, and puts me in handcuffs.
What?
Throws me in the back of the car. And I was like, and I go, what the heck?
It's for your safety.
Yeah, well,
right.
And I go, why am I in the back of this car? And he goes, and he comes up, and he's this young yoked up kid, right? And he's the kind of kid that when I was teaching defensive tactics in the police academy, I would call him out and say, okay, your job is to put handcuffs on me, right? And then I would fight back, and
I got you.
And so, but understand this, I did not resist. The guy, I'm like, sure, okay, I put my hands behind my back, and he puts me in the car. I still have my gun on my hip, right? So, which you never ever do.
Well, yeah. So you're in the back of this cop car with your gun
and my handcuff key, right?
And your keys.
And so a friend of mine, the sergeant, pulls up, and
I'm sorry.
Sue,
I'm just picturing that. You're just sitting there like with handcuffs in the back. Well, let's see here. I know my cuffs are behind me. I know I could reach into my that little pouch and grab the universal key.
Yeah, I have a So anyway, so she pulls up. She walks over and she looks at me and she goes, "What are you doing?" And I go, "Talk to your guy." And she turns around. She walks over. She goes, "Why is Mr. Nulty in the back of your car in handcuffs?" And he goes, "Well, because he was beating up the homeless people, right?" And she walks over and she goes, "Did you beat up the homeless people?" I go, "Yeah, I sure as hell did." And she goes, "Okay, why?" And I said, "Well, because 5 of them attacked me." I go, "You want to look at my phone?" And she goes, "Sure." And the other cop who had been taking statements turns around and comes back. He hadn't even realized I had been put in the back of the car. And he goes, "Why are you back there?" And I go, "Talk to your guy," And the guy's sitting there looking at me. And so Sue turns to the guy and goes, "Take him out of his handcuffs right now," And so when I get out of the car, she looks, and I've got my gun, I got my stuff on, and she goes, "What were you doing back?" She goes, "You put a guy in the back of your car with a gun on his hip?" She's, and she goes, and then she goes, "Can I see your phone, Ted?" And she goes, "Does this look like him beating somebody up, or does that look like him being assaulted?" And the guy, and this kid's like starting to, and he had a bit of an attitude,
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden he was like, and he looks at me and he goes, "Please don't get me fired," And I said, "I'm not gonna get you fired, but come here. You and I are gonna talk around the corner." I pulled him around the corner. And I said, "Look," I said, "you're lucky I didn't stuff you on the," and he's 6'4", pretty yoked up kid. I go, "Let me explain to you. I was an instructor at the academy." I go, "Is there any doubt in your mind that I couldn't take your gun away from you right now and kill you with it?" And he was kind of all shook up. And I go, "Because I can." I said, "You coming in badge heavy, thinking you're I go, "You didn't do any investigation." I go, and I could have potentially been a dangerous person. You didn't ask me about what was going on, And so I read him the riot act, And he was, by the time it was done, the tough guy was literally almost in tears. Went over there and Susan was like, "Ted, I am so sorry." She goes, "I can run him up the chain of command, what he did was really, really wrong." And I said, "No." I said, "But, you might use this as a teaching moment, and probably at your next roll call or lineup, you might want to use him as an example of how not to screw up, and she goes, oh, you betcha, so, and that was it. But so how do we get off on track? You asked me a question.
I think we were just talking about your security company.
And security company. So we've been in business now for coming up 38 something years, 80, wow. 85. Yeah. So 85, 87. Yeah. 37 years, officially licensed. That's and, I've had some great employees. I could not be here without the people around me. Not just my wife and my kids, but my supervisors. I have employees that I've had for 25, 26 years. I had some I had some real goofballs. One of the guys I served with in the Marine Corps, I wound up not only firing but having him arrested. So that was kind of a tragedy because I'm very into taking care of my Marines. But so I've had good times, bad times. We've only been fired for cause from a client site 3 times. I mean, so clients, tenants go in businesses go in and out of business, and shopping centers get sold and stuff like that. So we've lost accounts over the year, but only 3 times in 30 some. Once every 10 years, one of my guys does something stupid enough to get us fired from an account. And, but other than that, my employees are really good. I try to treat them, but I wouldn't be where I am without them. Chris Rock once said, I don't want to be rich. I want to be wealthy. He goes, Shaquille O'Neal is rich. The guy who writes his check is wealthy, Yeah. So, so I that's one of those things that I try and live by is to develop and maintain wealth, including generational wealth for my kids. My kids are be set for their rest of their life.
Let's actually talk about that. That's a good topic. What are some advice you could give for the listeners here?
It's easy to make money. It's hard to hold on to it. So the number one life lesson, if I could give to somebody, I can make money. I can go out and make money all day long. Making money is not hard. Keeping it is hard. So how do you keep money? Well, you make it work for you. So I'm a California accredited investor. So I have a verified net worth of over $2 million. Or to become accredited, or you can have a liquid $1 million in the bank. But you have to, and then once you get to that level, certain investment opportunities open up to you, real estate investment trusts, things like that. And the reason they do that is they will only allow you to invest a certain portion. You guys remember the Enron deal and Bernie Madoff and some of the other big major scams. Well, the FCC has come in and made it so that you're only allowed, you can't put all your eggs in one basket, so to speak. So what happens is, but once you're an accredited investor, you can get into short-term bridge loans where you're making 25% on your money in 90 days. So 25% on your money in 90 days would be the equivalent of 100% of your money in a year. So that's an interest rate of 100%. That's gold. That's golden. So that means if I took $1 million, put it in, at the end of the year, I have $2 million. I have to pay tax on the second million, so I have 690, whatever. But that's a lot of money.
Yes. Okay.
But with that comes inherent risk. These are far more risky ventures. So you look at the whole lawsuit just now with Donald Trump, right? Mm-hmm. He went in there, and they went after him for a bunch of patently false stuff. Everybody who went into that venture made money. Everybody was golden. And he told them, hey, this is risky, but here's my track record. Here's my properties. And the banks went out. The prosecutor, whoever she was, said that he overvalued his companies, his property's worth and stuff.
Yeah.
But the banks went out and did their due diligence, and they said, well, it's actually kind of undervalued. So they went in, they did it. Everybody made money. Trump paid his loans back early. But had that gone south, God knows what would have happened, because they would have used that as ammo to go after him. But those kind of ventures, that kind of interest in return, that's where I can take $1 million worth of my money. I can put it into my Pacific Point real estate investment trust, and they do short-term bridge loans to construction companies that need to come up with 25% for the bank. So it's a $100 million project. Yeah. They need $25 million. I go in, I loan them $25 million, And then the bank funds them, and once they meet their initial funding criteria, the property's been secured that they're going to build on, the materials have been placed, then the bank comes in and gives them the rest of that 100%. I get my money back, and I get it back at in 90 days. I get it back at 25%, right? So the $1 million I gave them is now 1.25 million. 3 days, that's not bad for 3 months of sitting around. And I got money sitting all over the place. I got a couple $1 million in gold sitting,
Well, we'll
someplace.
keep that on the hush hush.
Yeah. So making money is easy. Keeping it is what's hard. So right now,
Yeah.
How old are you?
27, almost 28.
Okay. Right now, if you start taking $100 a paycheck, $200 a month, take that, put it into a post-tax retirement account.
I mean, like the IRA,
like a Roth IRA, right?
Yeah, I do that.
Okay, so how much money do you have? So if you're taking $200 a month, in 8 years, you're going to have $50,000, $60,000. Interest accruing, the whole 9 yards. The interest you pay tax on, certain interest you pay tax on, not all of it. So now, a couple years down the road, you want to buy a new car, right? So, and you're going to go out and buy your new Dodge Ram, which I saw the first day you got it, second day you got it.
Actually, it was the second day I got it.
Yeah. So I'm driving along. I'm in my Ferrari driving along. I look over and there's Jaden.
I'm like, hey, and he looks over and he's like, Jaden? And I go, yeah, man, let's pull over. He's like, pull over here.
Yes.
And we just.
So I'm driving an Escondito. I'm cruising along in my black Ferrari. He's in his black truck. We pull over. I was like, this is a nice truck,
That is a nice Ferrari.
Yeah. So
there's an interesting story with that Ferrari you told me, by the way, but
we'll get into that.
We'll get into that later, yeah.
Yeah, my car stories. But now you want another truck, right?
Yes.
So what you do is you write up a legal loan document and you borrow your next truck money from your Roth IRA, right? But it's a legal loan. Now, that Roth IRA is post-tax income, right? So anything it earns, it's already been taxed. So now you write yourself, and instead of paying 4 or 5% to whatever credit union you use, or Wells Fargo, or whatever, or 8% for Wells Fargo, God, what you do is you borrow that money from yourself, you pay yourself back, and you pay the interest, right?
Yes.
So now that interest money that comes into you is a write-off for you, but it's tax-free income on this side. So what's happening is you're making it from your regular paycheck. You pay your car payment, right? Yeah. But that interest, that post-tax income is yours. That's what making your money is. So your money is making you 8 or 10%, but it's saving you the tax write-off on the other side. So that's making your money work for you, saving you money in multiple ways. At this time, I would like to make a disclaimer. I'm not a tax attorney or tax official, and anything I say, you should verify and talk to a certified professional yourself. Okay? Having said that, talk to your accountant. He can tell you how to do it legally. And I am not advocating cheating the IRS. I don't need to cheat the IRS. God knows I'm paying $180,000 income tax.
They have theirs.
Yeah. So, but again, you don't need to. If you work it right, there's a reason rich people stay rich, and then rich people become wealthy.
It's not taught. I read a lot of. I don't mean to mention another author. I mean, you've been name dropping a few of them, but Robert, I think it's Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad books.
Okay, yeah.
Robert K. We'll call him K. I can't pronounce his last name. If you're listening to this, I'm sorry, buddy. I met him one time when I was in the Philippines. Okay, and I read his book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, actually on the audio. I'm more of an audio kind of guy personally. And he states
because he can't read.
Exactly.
Okay.
I can't read.
Go ahead.
ADHD. You go forward, you go back, and then you're on another story. It's just confusing.
I read to you.
Yeah, she does.
I help him study.
She's nice, really. But he basically says exactly what you're saying, Ted.
Smart guy.
Yeah, very smart guy, and I really want to kind of dig into that a little bit. So, say a person has $5,000. Okay, what should they do with that $5,000? Because most kids and young adults, it's not taught in the school system, right? So in the school system, you're taught to, okay, go to work, go home, go to work, go home, go to work, go home, and these are general skills to go to work. But they don't teach you how about taxes or anything like that. And I feel the reason they don't do this is because the more stupid people we have, and
The more they'll generate for those wealthy people.
yeah,
So, and it is a tragedy because that's what they should be teaching. You know, we should bring back home economics. People should know how to do their laundry, wash the dishes. Sorry,
Cook.
honey. I still haven't learned that part. No. But they should learn how to balance a checkbook and how to, like I said, to make a lot of these kids, they have no clue how they're being conditioned to fit into that narrow lane. Go to work, make money. If you're good, you'll make a little bit more. But
I feel like it's only going to get worse. If you think about it, like back when you were a kid, I'm sure your parents may have taught you some general stuff like how to write a check, right?
How to balance a checkbook.
Yeah.
Still haven't learned that either.
Oh,
I have accountants for that. If you ask me how much money I have right now, I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
My wife could give you a vague idea, but you'd have to talk to Darren, my accountant, who I have a meeting with at 1:00. Coming up soon.
It's coming up soon.
Yeah, so 1:30.
Well, let's get to a couple more closing questions on the phone, Tiff. If you want to open it up, the notes are on there.
Here, I have your stuff right here. Look, at that's easy to read.
Oh,
Isn't it there? Can you scroll up and see it?
yes, perfect.
I had to cheat because I don't know what I'm answering, so I have to look at the questions. You can touch it; it won't bite.
The iPad.
No, touch it really. Seriously, scroll it where you want.
Okay. We did want to kind
She's
of
not going to touch my iPad. I'm really offended.
what your morning routine is like, or your night. Like, how do you set your day up for success?
I have no, because of the nature of my business and because it's growing, I really don't have a morning routine. Ideally, I would write at night. My dog would lean up against my leg, and I would write at night, and I would get up. I'm kind of a workout fiend. I love to work out. I just don't get as much of it in as I can. I actually, if you go to my truck and you look, I have a set of dumbbells and some weights. And when I go out and I'm doing like a auto theft stakeout in a shopping center,
Yeah.
and I'm wearing plain clothes, I'll sit at the back of my truck. I can't do push-ups on the ground, obviously, because I'll get all dirty. But I do push-ups off the tailgate and I lift my weights. My morning routine, I'm a big breakfast guy. And so I have a couple of places. If you go to the IHOP in Rancho Bernardo and ask for the Ferrari cup, it has my name on it. So you go in there. So I eat breakfast. I try to get what administrative work out of the way that I can.
Yeah.
And then I try to go out and get my face out in front of my employees and whatnot. I prefer to write at night with nobody around me. And then I'll drag my wife and I'll go, read this. Does that sound right? And she'll go, you're an idiot. Read it out loud yourself. And I'm like, I can think a lot faster than I can type. Now I have over 1 million words in print published, right? So I've spent some time on a keyboard. I still have to look at the keys. And I can type about 90 to 100 words a minute. The problem is I try to type 140 words a minute. So what happens is my brain's spinning, my squirrel's bouncing around in the empty space, and I will skip over words, sentences in a paragraph. And my wife will just look at it. She goes, it's gobbledygook. And I go, what do you mean? That's great literary work. And she'll go, it's gobbledygook. You're an idiot. And I'll go, okay, I'm an idiot, but that's great literary work. And then I read it, and it'll, I'll pick it up, and I'll look at the screen, and it'll be, and then Richard smegma booga 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 did, and then Amy went mooga mooga booga, and then it'll just be these letters, and I'll be like, holy crap. And she goes, see? And then I have to go, okay, you're right. So
You're like, I can read it though. It's fine.
yeah, I know what's in. So I've learned part of my craft is to slow down, get my thoughts coherently on paper, try to not, because when you're on a binge, if I could write 3,000 words in a day, I am a happy camper. 3,010 words turns out to be about $1,200 or 1,200 real world words that people can read, and not that my spelling is pretty good, but I just needed to slow down. So I write at night. I get up in the morning. My wife and I do breakfast a lot, admin stuff during the day. And then I have a ton of hobbies. So scuba diving, which we've covered quite a bit.
Right.
I like to fly. I'm actually, right now, I'm researching buying either a Sling TSI or a Vans RV-12 airplane kit and building it myself.
Oh, wow.
Hey, hit me up. I've got tools in my truck.
So I'm just going to rent a hangar down at Gillespie, and I'm just going to sit there, and it takes about a year to do
okay.
it.
Well, damn. Never mind.
Yeah, so and I'm just going to build. Yeah, this is not a weekend project. So as soon as I can retire a little bit, I'm going to build myself an airplane.
Wow.
I tried to talk my wife into buying a Learjet so we could fly to all these exotic places, but to get a Learjet that has the legs to go to Hawaii, it's like $25 million. And I'm not that wealthy, not to be spending on an airplane anyways. And we can just jump on Alaska and fly, and Alaska's great.
Yeah, you're fine.
So we do that. We jump on Alaska and go. But I just sold my interest in my other airplane back to the guy who owned it, and so I'm having the twinges, not having my own airplane, you know.
Oh.
And so people go, "You have your own airplane?" I go, "You don't? Why don't you have your own airplane?"
What color is your Bugatti?
Yeah. So no, it's a black Ferrari. We no longer have the red. So, but I did just get approval from the wife type. I didn't get approval. So my wife had this friend back in high school, and Valentine's morning, he gave her a drunk booty call.
Oh.
And he's like, "Where?" She goes, "I'm with my husband." And he's like, "Well, where is he? Can you get free?" And she goes, "No, he's right here next to me in bed." So there's nothing. It was just, it had been forever since she'd spoken to him. And
Yeah.
anyways, it was just kind of funny. He's a funny guy, but he was like, he didn't know that we had gotten married. And he's
It's
like,
been
"Hey."
that long.
Yeah.
You know, it's
So, well, I had met him when Don and I were dating. So, but anyway, so I was like, oh yeah. So the cost of my Ferrari is about $7 million. And the reason for that is when I got the Ferrari, and my wife, when you guys interview my wife, she'll go, "Oh, Ted said it." So I told her, I go, "Look, this is my last car. You can bury me in it. I really love this car. My Ferrari is epically awesome. It's the coolest car ever built."
What kind of Ferrari is it?
So I have a 488 GTB, but it's a highly modified. Ferrari built it to bring in high wealth clients. So it has like a digital rally dash that wasn't available that year, carbon fiber everything. It's slammed 4 inches on a Novatec suspension, Novatec downpipes. It's custom rims. HRE, which is the best wheel manufacturer in the world, made these rims just for that car. So my tires are slightly wider than stock, 30 millimeters wider than stock car. So it's just, well, you've seen it. It is the completely coolest car. So when I got it, my wife was just like, so now whenever we go somewhere, my wife wants something. She goes, "Oh, I want a new condo." And I'm like, I want a new condo in Cabo San Lucas. I go, "Honey, our condo is just fine." And she goes, "Shut up, you got a Ferrari."
So that's what makes it a $7 million Ferrari.
That's what makes it a $7 million, maybe $10 million Ferrari.
Oh, shit.
So yeah, we go down. We're in Belize. She falls in love with this castle. It's only $3.5 million. "Honey, we're not going to buy a castle." "Shut up, you got a Ferrari." And that's how you take a $427,000 Ferrari and stretch it into $10 million. So.
Yeah, I think that's a good closing statement.
For sure. That's fabulous.
Ted, listen here, my friend. It was so great to interview you and really get to know you. And
wait till you meet my wife. The number of eye rolls, you can hear her eyes click. Whenever you ask her a question about me, she'll go, "Oh," and then you hear the click, 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 click. So yes.
Where can we find you? Instagram, Facebook?
So I'm not cool enough for Instagram or Twitter. I used to have, my daughter is my social media manager, and I got tired of doing all that stuff. So I am on Facebook under my real name. The Locker has a page for itself, and fans show up there every once in a while, and we chat. So that's it. That's basically it. My books are all on Amazon. So you can read the reviews and look at it, decide if it's yours. I have a 100% fan engagement policy. If a fan buys my book, I will give them my P.O. box. They can mail me the book. I will sign it personally to them, or they can Venmo me the money for the book and shipping. I don't like losing money on it, but I will 100% personally sign a book and send it back to them, no matter who they are, no matter where they are.
That's awesome.
As long as it doesn't cost me money. My daughter, who did my social media, she would go to book signings and I would give people promotional books. And she would literally slap me and go, I have to go to college. You stop giving these away. You're selling them. And she was we call her a little Hitler, but yeah, so she's, so Maris would spend her time at our book signings going, stop giving them away, and they can pay and they can wait. And she would make them line up straight to get their book signed. Aww. So yeah, so I'm on Amazon. You can buy the books. Barnes & Noble, you can go in there. They don't carry a lot of them, but they will order them right away. Amazon's the number one bookseller in the world right now, so that's our number one venue. And that's it.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you guys for coming down and spending the day with me. It's always cool hanging out with him. It was very nice meeting you. I still want to know what's wrong with you that you're hanging out with him. So, Tiffany's cute as a box of puppies, and she's hanging out with this guy, so we don't know what's going on. There might be some bribery or extortion involved. We don't know. I'm investigating it. I'll get back to you.
Oh, shit. Thank you so much, Ted.
Cool. Thank you, guys.